What up, witches? I'm here to give you some fertility with a very common misconception about ovulation and periods. On a different thread about not having a period for a while, this person asked, "Forgive me if this is too personal, but may I ask if you don't get your period for a while, like a year, does that stop ovulation from happening?" And the answer really is yes, but the reason is you don't get your period because ovulation is not happening. You don't get a period until ovulation happens. Ovulation comes first, period comes after. What it is if you do not ovulate, then your uterine lining just kind of continues to build and build and build and build. And you might shed a little bit here and there. You might have some spotting. You might experience a bleed where the lining gets so heavy that it just kind of collapses in on itself. And it's not a period, but it appears like one. Because what causes it is not ovulation, but the weight of itself collapsing, essentially. In order to have a true period, ovulation, the release of an egg, must come first. After ovulation is complete, around 14 days later, anywhere between like 10 and 16 days, but 14 is pretty average for most people. 14 days after ovulation, you start your actual period. The reason being is after ovulation occurs, that what's it called? The follicle that the ovum pops out of becomes the corpus luteum, or the yellow body. And what it does is it produces progesterone, which keeps the uterine lining intact long enough for implantation to occur, which is roughly 9 days after ovulation. Anywhere between 6 and 12 days, but most often 9 days after ovulation, implantation happens, if it's going to happen. So the progesterone continues to release for up to 14 to 16 days, giving you enough time after ovulation for implantation to occur. After that 14-ish days, the corpus luteum dies and it stops producing progesterone. Once it stops producing progesterone, your uterine lining sheds, and that is your period. So until that corpus luteum exists and then dies, you can't have a period because that corpus luteum is the result of ovulation. It is the leftovers from where that egg popped out of. That is where the corpus luteum blooms and blossoms, whatever you want to call it. Our bodies are so cool. I loved learning about this, so I wanted to share, and I think it's interesting. Once you understand how the period actually works, it makes so much more sense why things can delay it. If your ovulation is constantly being pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, then your period is being pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And fun fact, until ovulation happens, you're not going to get pregnant. But if you're not tracking your ovulation, as in you don't know what your ovulation symptoms look like, then you will not know when that's happening, and you have to assume it could come back at any time, because it could. So that was my very, very long answer to this simple question, which is yes, without ovulation, there is no period. Without a period, either you're not ovulating or you're pregnant. One of those two things is happening if you're missing your period. You could also be on birth control, but, assuming we're taking that cluster of people out of the equation here for a missed period. Okay, I hope that answers your question, and let me know if you have any other questions for the fertility segment of the What Up Witches podcast. Later, witches.